Hey everyone, it's Zach Beck. Today I want to talk about the correlation between time, money, and happiness. Now, the more I study about finances, the more convinced I am that time is money and money is time. I will admit that there are some substantial differences between money and time. They are not exactly the same thing. Money is a store of time, but the two concepts have some significant differences as well. For instance, time is linear, and 1 minute of the day has passed. It is irretrievable, it is gone. You cannot reclaim it. It was a waste of time. You've heard that saying many times before. Now, for instance, if you lose $1, you can always earn $1 again. There is no finite amount of resources out there, whereas time is finite and time is linear. More importantly, when time is thought of in a finite manner and money is not, we theoretically understand that our income and our wealth have no upper bound. There is no limitation for how much that we can earn over the course of our lives. And when we begin to interchange the two, we begin to understand how they can drastically affect the quality of our life if we spend our time wisely. What I want to do in this video is show you the correlation between time, money, and your happiness. So let's jump into it right now. Now, in order to understand the correlation between time, money, and happiness, I want to take a moment and look at how we make our money, which is through our work. So when you think about your work and you begin to understand the correlation between how much you work versus how much you make and how those two things are integrated, then we are able to understand the value of what you are doing on a daily basis. When I began to fully grasp the relationship between money and time, my first big insight was understanding that wealth isn't necessarily an abundance of money. Wealth is having an abundance of time or potential time. And when you accumulate a lot of money, you actually accumulate a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily bring you more time or bring you more value. So when you think about it from this perspective, the reason why you might want to achieve some form of financial independence in the future is so that way you can actually have more time. And if you have more time, you can pursue your goals, you can pursue your dreams, you can pursue your aspirations. When you have money, you can do certain things, but if you do not have actual time to use that money, then it's not really worth as much. Now, it's a bit of a catch-22. You work harder to make more money to buy more stuff, but because you still have more stuff, you need more money, which means you have to work harder, which means you have less time. So the more physical things that you possess generally correlates with you having less time to enjoy those things. And this is something I've talked about repeatedly on this channel, is the importance of not falling victim to lifestyle inflation and trying to live below our means and having less stuff, and actually a bit more of a minimalist approach when it comes to how many things you actually acquire over the course of your life, because you can't take that stuff with you. You might be saying to yourself, Zach, how do I get out of this vicious cycle, which is often referred to as the hedonic treadmill? And the way that you and I can do this is by deliberately spending less than the money that we make. So my encouragement to you is to spend less and live more. And if you're able to do so, what you're doing is you're avoiding lifestyle inflation. Let's say, for example, that you make $50,000 a year, but then you spend $50,000 a year. It leaves no room for error, and also it doesn't allow you to accumulate and grow your wealth, like I've talked about in previous videos, such as building your wealth snowball. In addition, let's say if you take it one step further and you make $50,000 a year, but then you find yourself $60,000 a year that you've spent because you spent $10,000 in debt, then you're finding yourself going in a negative direction. So my encouragement is to actually change that trajectory. Instead, let's start by doing it simple this year. Say you make $50,000 a year, try and spend $40,000 a year, leaving yourself $10,000 difference between what you make and what you spend. Now, that's a good starting point, but it shouldn't be the end goal. We should actually be striving for a significantly broader gap between how much money we make versus how much money we spend. For example, if you were able to maintain your same spending rate no matter what your income level is, then as you get promotions, as you grow further along in your career, as you bring in additional income, then that gap is going to broaden substantially. For example, there was a period of time when I was only making $20,000 to $30,000 a year. So I found a way to make and spend about that. And I found myself continuously in this cycle where I wasn't able to ever get out of that. Then as my career progressed, as I grew older, as I gained more certifications, a college degree, and all those those different things, then I've now reached a place where I'm earning six-figure salary on an annual basis, but I keep my expenses very low. My wife and I are very intentional about that. Therefore, our gap is very broad between what we make and versus what we spend, and then we can save and invest the rest. So my encouragement to you is that if you're able to do that, what you're doing is expediting the process by which you will then be able to have more time in the future. So you don't just want to have money for the sake of money, you want to have money once again because it's connected to time. So what I want to encourage you to do is that try to avoid this cycle where you constantly find yourself in lifestyle inflation, and try to broaden the gap between how much money and how much money you spend versus how much money you make. So what I want to encourage you to do is that if you're able to buy your time, it's actually going to promote happiness, which leads us to our third point. Buying time promotes happiness. Now that we've seen the correlation between time and money, I want to show you how those two things can intersect and actually produce happiness, or something that's also a little bit deeper than that, joy. And that is by doing the following. You can actually buy time, and that will promote your happiness. There was a recent study conducted in the National Academy of Sciences, and in their journal they produced an article called Buying Time Promotes Happiness. And here is what it said. It said the following: around the world, increases in wealth have produced an unintended consequence, a rising sense of time scarcity. We provide evidence that using money to buy time can provide a buffer against this time famine, thereby promoting happiness. Using large, diverse samples, we show that individuals who spend money on time-saving services report greater life satisfaction. A field experiment provides casual evidence that working adults report greater happiness after spending money on time-saving purchases than on material purchases. Together, these results suggest that using money to buy time can protect people from the detrimental effects of time pressure on life satisfaction. So if you want to improve the quality of your life, don't take your money and spend it on buying other things. Use your money to buy your time. And what you can do that in a variety of manners. You can do that by paying people to, do work around your house. You could pay people to actually conduct certain chores. You could purchase a meal preparation kit. You can do all sorts of things that don't provide you with any value personally, but they free up your time. And thinking about it from the perspective of, as you're able to bring in more money and give yourself more time, then you're really just freed up to do more interesting things that bring you joy and fulfillment in your life, and actually make your life more efficient to be able to bring in more resources so that you have more time. So it's pretty interesting when you begin to think about these things in a different manner than you might have previously, when you connect the differences between how much time you're spending versus how much money you're spending, and how if you shift these two things, they can produce happiness, because when you have more freedom and flexibility, then you're able to fulfill your potential. And it's all about finding this proper balance. And I believe so much in balance and moderation. It's one of the reasons why I've titled this channel Balance and Moderation, is because I believe that we do need some sort of correlation or balance between spending time working, spending time producing, spending time relaxing, spending time enjoying. We need to find a nice balance holistically, from a physical perspective, a spiritual perspective, an intellectual perspective, a relational perspective. There's so many different components to our lives that the more balance that we have, the better approach we can find ourselves taking when it comes to finding fulfillment and joy and happiness in our lives. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you again for taking the time to watch this video today. I hope that you found it helpful, that now you can correlate time, money, and your happiness and find the right balance for yourself. If you wouldn't mind, feel free to like this video. It actually really helped the channel out for the YouTube algorithm, help push this video to other people who might need to hear a message like this, because you might know someone right now who has too much time on their hands and they might be bored out of their mind, or they might have too much money and not able to invest it properly, or they're struggling financially, whatever it might be. And wherever you are at right now, the more that we can push a video like this out to other people, I just really hope that it helps them and helps you in the process. In addition, if you have any comments, questions, or disagreements, or anything you want to share with me, feel free to comment down below. I'd love to interact with you, get to know you, get to share more insights as I think of them as well. So feel free to comment at your own approach. In addition, if you want to learn more about what's happening on this channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be notified whenever I post a new video, and I'm going to continue to produce content that I believe and hope will actually make a positive impact in your life and the lives of others. So once again, really want to thank you for taking the time to watch a video today. I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day. See you next time.